difficult. So, hey, I see it's 8 o'clock.
It is.
And well, we have and we will be having a few more people log in, but we do not wait for everybody to be here. It is 8 o'clock. Welcome to the Sunday night webinar. It's September 22nd. This is Web 101. And I'm Gene Colbago.
And I am Roger Carroll.
Yes, and tonight we have Karen Wagaman from the Teacher Resource Center here to discuss several important issues. And I don't know, without further ado, Raj, do you have anything before we turn it over to Karen?
No, I'm anxious to hear what's going on at the TRC.
Okay. And
Oh,
Karen?
well, it's so exciting, and you guys are welcome anytime.
Okay. Okay.
Well, thank you guys for having me. Happy Sunday evening, everyone. So we've had some changes in the TRC over the last year. Last January, Kelly got pulled out of the TRC office and is working in the main office. So my only support staff is Demita, who, like this time of year, has her hands full between all the summer verifications, especially with like Marie's courses, all turned at the end, trying to get everyone verified prior to September 8th, all the poster making and laminating for the whole district. Everyone wanted everything, and unfortunately we ran into some difficulties this summer with our laminator. It was down till early August. So, if you have anything waiting for us, please be patient on that front. But anytime you have any questions, anybody about their PDP, like if you don't see something verified, it's not quite like internet banking where the money can be moved instantly. I mean, they have to be hand entered by Demita. So sometimes they take a long time. Jean, can you tell me for the webinars, I believe you send her every few weeks the list of
what
attendees?
I do is let's put it this way, 1 week following, like tomorrow I will send the report for last Sunday's.
Right, okay.
Because we give people a few days to respond to the survey, which is attached to the thank you note.
Right. Okay. So yeah, that's not actually as long as I thought it was, Jane.
Yeah. Well, we try to. Yeah.
But she doesn't always, like now since differentials are all done, she won't necessarily hurry them all in right away. She might wait and have a couple weeks worth to put in. But we try to handle any, personal requests, or if something's missing, we get that handled pretty well. So also a big change in the TRC is I am in there full time this year and next year. That was a proposal made by Mr. Laurie in the district last year during negotiations. Part of our conversation during negotiations was the NFT having more say in what's offered for PD, and that was kind of a compromise that the district actually proposed. So I'm really excited. This is my 30th year in the district. So I'm working, as I always have, to provide after school, online, Saturday PDs, but I'm also starting to work with Mr. Corella and his team at central office for our superintendent's conference day PDs. Now, I know everyone's needs can't be met, and certain grade levels are driven by prescriptive programs, so they need PD and training on that. But if you have any suggestions or ideas, I'm certainly open to any emails, and we'll do what we can. As far as the TRC, we have a lot of brand new people this year. So it's located on the second floor of Niagara Falls High School. In the center, we have supplies, teaching supplies, color paper, poster paper, the big sticky paper, laminating, poster making, color printing, and stuff like that. I was going to show, PDP is my nemesis in Teacher Center, but all new teachers should have received an email, because I've tried to enter every name, and I think almost every new teacher is in PDP, and you should have been sent an email on how to log in. It's your district email and then a password. And unfortunately, we don't own PD Premier. It's run out of Erie-Wimbosi. So all I can do if you can't log on is provide you the helpline. But that is where we keep track of, it's our data collection tool for all district PD and teacher center PD. And to log into that, you can go on the NFT page, or look at that, promoting NFT, the Niagara Falls Schools page, Staff Resources, Teacher Resource Center on current news and events, and there's a link to the PDP site. Again, if you don't have your password, I can provide you the help desk number, but it's not a program that we run out of the district. If you wanted to register for a course, but you could not get in PD, you can just email me or call me and I can register you. And our catalog, I send it out every so often. I mean, people may get an email from me once in a while or 50 times a day. Our catalog is also listed on that same page under current events. My email is kwagaman@nfschools.net, but my direct line in the Teacher Center is 41603. So something really important that we do in the TRC, well, there's two things we do, but we allow people to earn clock hours and CTLE hours. And I'm actually going to do a whole class on these two things on October 29th. It's going to be about an hour and a half or 2 hours, because so many people look at the contract and they don't understand the salary scale. And I'm hoping we all have the contract in our hands by then, because some people look at that 90 hours and they don't really know what it represents. So I really kind of want to break it down for people, make sure that people are being paid appropriately. Ran into a few instances where some people had 60-hour masters but got hired as masters 30, so they just had to do a couple quick things with HR to get paid correctly. So, you know, I'm going to work on people on that on the 29th, just because it's very hard to explain without having the actual document in front of you, I think. But clock hours are any hours that you take outside of your work day, whether it be an online course or a face-to-face course that's after school or on a Saturday, and those will help you earn salary credit. CTLE hours are the New York State hours, and people, once they become professionally certified, have to earn 100 hours every 5 years, including 15 in ELL or 50 if you're ELL certified. These can be earned through the district PDs during the day or after school or online PDs. So any PD you do through the district or the TRC, you can earn your CTLE hours. You can also earn them from outside sources, BOCES, many other places like the New York State Council for Social Studies and whatnot. They all have CTLE numbers. This changed in July 1 of 16. To get a CTLE number, you have to meet some certain qualifications, and the PD has to meet certain qualifications for it to qualify for those hours. So that's on 10/29 that I'm going to offer a whole class on that.
May I interrupt?
10/29, Karen, or this
No,
week?
it's going to be in person. Pardon? I didn't hear the question.
Is in October 29th.
October 29th.
Yes.
Like I said, I just wanted people to feel like they had their feet under them a little bit for the beginning of the year.
And where is that going to be?
It's going to be at Niagara Falls High School in the North Amphitheater.
And we have a question. Someone says, if we took that class and we are still confused, can we take it again on October 29th?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Let's see. I already did that. I have a list here of what I was going to talk about. All our classes through RTRC are free. I do send out, I forward emails from like Orleans Niagara BOCES. Those have a fee. Erie 1 BOCES. I mean, a small fee, but a fee nonetheless. And I also forward a lot of emails from PDs from other places. Like I said, the State Councils of Social Studies, Niagara Frontier Council for Social Studies, Science Teachers Association of New York State. So I try to allow people as many opportunities to see what's out there, because people have different needs, people have different wants. Maybe they only want to do online. Maybe there's a certain topic they want to hit, you know. So I try to forward as many things. But if I'm forwarding something and you're like, I don't understand what this is, how many hours, how to register, just email me. I'm always happy to help. Something crossed my mind, but now I can't remember what it was, and it's not on my list. It's been an exhausting day, all this good football. I don't know what to do. I don't know if there's anything else you guys can think of. Jean and Roger's courses, these webinars are for CTLE hours too. So I just help someone with the salary differential. That's the form you fill out to get a raise to move up the salary increment scale, and they literally took 100 webinars, and I said, I'm never allowing anyone to take 100 webinars again. It was like over the last 4 or 5 years, they took every webinar. So
Oh
anyway.
my goodness, that had to be a lot of work for you.
It was, but it was okay. They're at 90. That's my goal. I try to help people get as many hours and get to 90, because you'd be surprised how many people are not there. And I was, in the same situation. I had 3 kids within 2 years, and it was hard to do PD. And I think that was before the internet even existed. Or maybe it was, close to existence. I might not be that old. I'm not sure. I wish somebody had other questions because I'm drawing a blank.
Well, Karen, in your presentation on the 29th, is that a course? Or
yes,
is
it's actually a course for 2
okay.
clock and 2 CTLE hours.
Okay. We had some conversation, or actually some communication over the last week or so about a request for doing webinars that would qualify for ELL credit.
Right.
Because of the requirement, I think it's for 15 hours or 15% or something like that.
For most teachers, it's 15, correct.
Okay.
We have a few ELL teachers, they need 50.
An actual ELL teacher needs 50.
50, right. Everybody else needs 15. So like I said, first of all, we'd have to title the webinar something about ELL strategies. And obviously, whatever you cover in that time should at least be tangentially related to teaching ELLs. And we could do that, if you wanted to add webinars or just do 1 or 2 Sunday night webinars, 2 or 3 throughout the year. That's really all it would take for these.
Do you find that people are, and this is a requirement for all teachers, either 15 or 50.
Correct.
ELL hours within there, was it a 5-year time frame?
Yes, if you're people like us, we're permanently certified. It doesn't pertain to us. It's only newer teachers, I want to say since 2007 or 8, who would be professionally certified. They have to do it every 5 years for the rest of their career.
And that's a rolling clock that starts day 1 of their first appointment?
Day 1 of their professional certification. So they have to meet some requirements. They're initially certified first. A lot more hoops and stuff than when we were young. But so once they start out initially certified, they have to do some time in the classroom, some mentoring, and then they move to professional. And once they move to professional, that's when the clock starts. For other people who have been professionally certified since 2007, 2008, it used to be 175 hours.
Oh my goodness.
But on July 1, 2016, New York State stopped the clock and restarted it, as only New York State would, and made it 100 hours, but it's a little more specific what needs to be covered, how they get CTLE numbers. Faculty meetings and department meetings, for the most part, don't count. Some department meetings will count, but faculty meetings no longer count. Mentor hours do count. There's a percentage, like most teachers in their first year do 60 hours of mentoring. I don't think all 60 can count, but I can't remember the number.
Where could teachers check the specifics of that? Do they have to go to their Teach account, or
well, they could individually. They could check with their Teach account. It would tell them what their certification, like if they're initial, professional, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. If they have questions, really, Nicole Bensley from Orleans Niagara BOCES, she's the state certification guru. She comes in. We set up meetings a couple times in the spring so she can meet with our teachers, anyone who has questions. But really, the Teach account would be the place to start to say, where am I at? And it usually has a start date. For most of our teachers, it's July 1 of 2016, because a lot of our teachers were already professionally certified then.
Karen, there is another question. Somebody has asked, can Karen talk about how the mentor program works for clock hours?
Okay, so the mentor program is an awesome way to earn clock hours and move up the salary increment scale. Andrea Fortino Savage is the MTIP coordinator, and I must say she is doing a great job, but I'm sure is overwhelmed this year because this is the first year we've had so many new teachers. Not only new teachers, but teachers that switched levels. If you were a pre-K teacher and you moved to grade six, you can go back in the mentor program because you're at a different level. So we've had so many changes. The first year, if you're a brand new teacher, the first year of the mentor program is 60 hours. The second year is 40 hours, and the third year is 20 hours. Or no, it's 30 hours the third year, my bad. Now, somebody who switches levels, like we have an art teacher at high school who was at elementary, she can join in as year 2. But both the mentor and mentee can earn the clock hours. They both can earn 60 if it's a first year. There's a calendar that Andrea has sent out that people just fill out when they meet. You know, sometimes you're not talking about necessarily your curriculum. You might be talking about, oh, class day, what do we do for that? How does open house work? What is this? What is that? Anytime you're talking with the mentee and fill that out. She only enters the hours, though, in June. Partly because if she did it at the half-year point, salary differentials are due January 8th. So if she did it at the end of January, it's not helping anyone, so she just puts them in June. But if you mentor someone, that's almost a full step increment, because it's, if I could do math, it's 130 hours. So that's almost a full step. Some people I know are mentoring 2 people, so it is a great way to earn clock hours. If you know someone who is new or says, I don't have a mentor, or you're supposed to be mentoring someone, just email Andrea and she can forward the calendar again. It's a very simple process.
Okay. We have another question relating to the clock hours and requirement about certified teaching assistants. Do they also need to meet the CTLE requirement?
Level 3 teaching assistants, which if I'm being 100% honest here, I'm not sure exactly when level 3 started. Some of the teaching assistants who have been in for years do not have to do this, but newer teaching assistants who are level 3, and if you don't know what you are, you could always email me, I can look it up. Level 3 teaching assistants have to do the same 100 hours every 5 years and 15 in ELL.
And if I understand it correctly, because again, we predate all of this as having been in the classroom, it is the teacher's obligation, it's on their shoulders to keep track of where they are in the CTLE, in the 5 years, in the accumulation of hours, et cetera, and they do that through their Teach account?
Actually, you were right till you stopped before the Teach account. See, years ago, under the 175 hours, the district would upload your stuff, your courses to the Teach account. When we stopped the clock, July 1 of 2016, it became the teacher's responsibility. Now, if I were really, nope, I don't have it on this computer. I have a document that the state sent out where teachers could, and it's just a document, you could create your own spreadsheet, and it is the teacher's responsibility to keep track of their CTLE hours. What we will have in our PDP program is everything you've taken from us, the TRC, the temps, you guys webinars, district PD. But if you take anything from like Orleans Niagara BOCES or the science, the Stannis or something, you can give us your certificates for clock hours, but we can't enter anyone else's CTLE hours in our program. My understanding is that at the end of your 5-year period, you'll go onto your Teach site, you'll have to validate that you've done 100 hours, that you've done 15 in ELL, and then wait to see if you get audited. That's when you'll need to provide the documentation. It's not my understanding, or yes, that's what I want to say. It's not my understanding that you have to enter every course when you validate it at the end of 5 years. Now, anyone who's been in New York State in education might remember the time of the videos, which there may still be 500 rooms full of videos that people made for certification that never got watched. So the cynical part of Karen says, there'll be 4 people from New York City audited, and then no one else will get audited. But I mean, I can't guarantee that, and I wouldn't take that chance. And obviously, I believe in professional development, but we'll see what happens in 2021. We
Okay.
really won't know how it's going to roll out till that first person, has to do it in 2021.
Okay. Another question. Going back just a bit, what is the criteria to be a mentor?
Why do they have to ask tough questions? So
I'm sorry.
generally speaking, you should be in the same department or grade level. Generally speaking, they try to do that. Generally speaking, we try to have people who are tenured. But last year, for example, in our building, we only have 2 health teachers. If I'm not mistaken, we only have 4 health teachers district-wide. So we did not have a tenured health teacher. So it was someone on probationary. Health teacher was the mentor to the other health teacher. Because Andrea tries to be honest, she really works with people. You want to try to like your mentor.
Mm-hmm.
If there's someone you really like and get along with and work with anyway, she really tries to make it happen. The preference is that you're either in the same department, same grade level, depends where you're at, and that you're tenured. But I know this year there's some odd, because there's so many new people and certain grade levels in certain buildings, everyone's brand new.
Okay, going along with that, what if there is no one to mentor at your grade level or in your building? Can you mentor someone from a different grade level or a different building?
Yes. You would just email Andrea and say, there's no one here in X, Y, or Z. I would like to be mentored by Jean Colbago.
Oh boy, you're in trouble.
Or whomever, we work in the same thing or whatever. Like I said, she's usually really trying to help people, because even if what if there's only 2 people and you don't like each other, or your schedules just never mesh?
Yeah.
I mean, she's trying to make it the most advantageous situation for everyone. And like in my department, for example, in Spanish, we got 3 new Spanish teachers. Wow. Yay, it's been like 20 years. Everyone in the Spanish department, I believe, who was working before that is at the 90, but many of us have agreed to mentor people because we believe in it. So it just depends. The Spanish department is awesome, so.
Yeah.
Yes, and we're crazy, Jean. I got it, okay?
Okay. No. The questions are coming in. Raj, okay. Are you following them too? I mean, I don't.
Yes, I am. And I really think this is we should extend an invitation to Andrea.
That's a great idea.
She can do it every week.
Presented previously, but as you indicate, there are so many new people involved in all aspects of this, new to the district, new to this whole environment, requirement for CTLE and clock hours, et cetera, that she could answer some of that. A question, probably more to us, Gene. We used to do an extra credit.
I took care of that.
We aren't currently doing that.
The second hour, yeah.
For an additional hour credit for any one webinar. So you responded to that. That's good.
Yes. There's one here.
Can you mentor while being mentored?
Wow. I think the answer is yes. And here's an example of that. Someone taught pre-K. They've now moved to grade 6. They may mentor a pre-K teacher, but they may also be mentored by a 6th grade teacher. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
If that was the intent of the question, it sounds like it is.
Yeah. Okay. And we have another one here. For clarification, CTLE hours are for certification over 5 years, and clock hours are for step increases. Is that correct?
Yes, okay. And they can be earned concurrently. Like this webinar, you're earning both.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting a clock hour and a CTLE hour.
Okay.
So that's bookkeeping, Gene. I think we asked that question, or we used to ask that question.
Yes.
in our either follow-up or registration question. So someone could say, I would like credit for both.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to be honest,
Okay.
when Demita verifies it, she has the list of people who need. If
Yes.
you're not in PDP, if you are not needing CTLE hours, we can't put them in.
Mm-hmm.
So if I get verified for today's course, they can't pop a CTLE credit in there for me. Like the program kind of knows that and will populate both
Yes.
columns.
It does it kind of automatically, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Because
Demita
some
told
people
me
are
we
not
didn't have
really
to do
sure
that.
if they
Yeah.
need that. You know?
Yeah. Demita said it's done automatically. I think we
Yes.
started that. Thank you. And again, if anybody has any questions, please don't be afraid to ask. We're trying to do that. By the way, just as a warning, you mentioned that business about the 100 webinars. 17 more people have said no. There may be another few coming down the line.
That's okay. That's okay. That's what I'm there for.
Okay.
I was wondering, like Alicia, you know, she's the one who processes the salary differentials. I'm thinking if I just put like, you know, 17, 18, Web 101 through Web 206, can I
Yeah.
just put 26 hours on one line, but she needs every course
Oh my
listed.
goodness.
So,
Yeah. Yipes. Yeah.
Next time I'm calling you in, Jean. That's all.
Okay, we'll come in and yeah, I'll be in Florida. Anyhow, again, if anybody are there any other comments, questions, concerns that anybody may have? Please, either you can raise your hand and we'll, we can even unmute you, let you talk, things like that.
Oh, there's one kind of a follow-up, Gene. It's regarding the mentoring while being mentored issue or concerns. Can you review again how mentoring a teacher who has changed levels works? Again, that might be something we wait for, maybe get Andrea into.
Right, but generally speaking, if you've been mentored already at your first level and you move levels, you know, whatever, from, like I say, an elementary art teacher to a high school art teacher, you can do a second and third year of mentoring. So that's like a 40 and a 30 hours, I believe.
Okay.
Because, you know, like just even coming to the high school, it's not even about teaching your subject matter. A lot of the time it's about what's going on in the building, how things work. And I'm sure it's that way everywhere. You know, that might be quite different. So a lot of the mentoring isn't necessarily even curricular. It's more nuts and bolts, I suppose.
Okay. Again, as Jean mentioned, if people have some follow-up questions, think of something, after the webinar tonight, before responding to the survey, indicate those questions on the survey, and we will communicate those directly to Karen for follow-up. Sometimes it's things that Jean and I follow up on that are more perhaps of a technical nature, but anything in this area, this is vital. We need to make sure we understand what our obligations are in regard to this whole thing. You wouldn't want to exceed a timeline without the right information. That's a lot of pressure.
Right. We do have some people I know who are in an extension phase of their certification, so they need a specific number of hours by a specific date. People really need, I mean, it's in our contract, and it is that teachers need to be aware of their own certification and be mindful of that. It is not anyone else's job. That's what you own. But if you need any help, that's what we're here for.
Okay.
Very good.
We have another question. Can you explain how many clock hours to move up to the next step? For example, I think, like TRC hours, how do they work in with, say, hours, collegiate hour, college course hours, things like that?
Okay. So each increment on the pay scale looks like 10. It's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. Each block of 10 is either 150 clock hours or 10 graduate hours or a combination thereof. If you take one grad class this fall, 3 credit hour grad class, that's equivalent to 45 clock hours. Then the rest of the year, you do Marie's, TSG's, webinars to get to 150. So you could do 3 grad classes and 15 clock hours for a step. I hope that makes sense.
Did to me.
Okay.
No, and I think that, yeah, I think that was pretty clear. Yes. Thank you. And thank you for asking. And again, are there any other questions?
Could I just say something else on that?
Oh, certainly.
When people fill out their salary differentials, it's very important that you keep all your records, because a lot of times people email me and say, Karen, how many hours do I need for my next step? I don't have the differentials in the TRC. Those are housed at Human Resources. So the first step is to either find your last differential, or if you're new, you've never submitted one, but it would say where you left off. Maybe you were at 42 hours and something and change. So we need to know exactly where you were and what you already submitted. That's another thing I've seen problems. Someone's like, they only fill in the exact 150 hours to move up. Then it's 5 years later, and we have to hunt and peck through 10 years of records. I suggest that everyone just puts in everything. If they're putting in a differential January 8 of 2020, put in every hour you've earned. That way you know at that time you didn't have anything hanging out there. Because I've seen it where people just have stuff random, mentor hours from here, something from there that they never submit. So the best way to do it, I think, is just when you do a differential, put in all your hours to that time. And then you know, if it's 3 years later, I know I entered everything before that. Because I don't have the records to look back at your 4 or 5 differentials to see what you've put in. And it's best, make sure you keep good records, a folder, a binder, take pictures on your phone, How old did folder and binder sound, right?
Absolutely.
Put it in the cloud. I don't know, whatever these young kids do.
And again, another question, I guess, on that. Can Karen talk about how the mentor program works for clock hours? How the mentor program works toward clock hours?
Right. Each year, the first year you can earn 60. That's 60 clock hours. That's a ton. The second year is 40, and the third year is 30. I'm saying I believe on that, but I'm pretty sure the third year is 30. Okay. So if you mentor someone for 3 years, that's 130 hours towards an increment, which is only 150 hours. So hopefully, there's some other stuff in there, say 60 or 70 webinars.
Okay. And again, I think, you did mention how many clock hours to move up to the next step.
Right.
Yes.
It's 150, however you make it happen.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And again, the questions keep coming in, which are good. And if there are any others, please again, let us know. Are there any other questions? Well, I don't see anything else here right now. Karen, do you have anything else?
Nope, I think I'm good. If there's any, like you said, if there's any follow-up questions or anything, just email me. You guys email me.
Sure, and we will. And as Raj has said, if you have any questions on the survey, please put them there, or even email Karen or email us. We'll make sure make sure that she gets them. A last question: can we make an appointment to meet with Karen?
Absolutely. Just email me and we'll set it up at our whenever's good for you and or me.
Okay.
And an important date again is October 29th.
Yeah.
Where you can get another presentation and I'm sure handouts with all of this information.
Right. And I'll be, like I said, I'll be showing all the forms, the salary differential forms. I'll be going over PDP. I'll be going over the contract, the salary schedule, show you how that works.
Is this an after school?
Yes, it is, 3:30 to 5:30. And if anyone wants to join that, they can just email me and I can register them. I forget the name of the course off the top of my head.
Might be possible to do a webinar and record it so that you could post it on the TRC so people who can't come that night, if we work that out?
let's try to work that out. I won't be on video, Gene. That's all.
No, your screen. Your screen.
Okay, my screen. Good.
Yes. You notice how often we put ourselves on video.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe if I was on the lanai with,
Yeah.
little, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. The umbrella drink. I know.
Mhm, yeah.
There you go. Okay. Well, again, if there are no other questions, we want to say thank you, Roger. Anything else?
Well, thank you,
No,
gentlemen, so much. I
covered
look
a lot.
forward to this
Great.
every year, and I appreciate all the questions.
Okay.
Very good. And if if it turns out that there's a reason to do this again,
Yeah.
with evolving information or whatever, by all means, we can make that happen.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
And-
thank you, gentlemen.
Okay.
Are you gonna mute me or am I gonna mute myself?
No, we won't mute you. Yeah. Yeah, we can do that. I think we can do that, can't we, Raj?
I think I can.
Yes, we can. I just did. Okay. Thank you, Karen, and good night then.
Very good.
Okay. Okay, Raj. You know what? What I was going to do, I know we have a few things that each of us has to do. I've got a couple of real quick things that kind of tie in with some of the things that Karen was talking about. So might I do those, and then I'll switch it over to you?
Sure, and just hold something back in case.
What do you mean, hold it back?
Don't cover it all in case I cover everything.
Oh, well, okay.
that was in
I
my
understand.
stuff. You
Well,
said
you
a
know what?
couple of quick things.
Well, you know what? I mean, I could, again, we have 24 minutes. I could probably do the whole thing if you want.
No, I've got.
Oh, I know. Well, I know you got
things
good
to
stuff.
Do a heads up on.
Okay.
For
Well, okay.
upcoming things I want to go into depth.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I'll do a little thing and a preview. How's that? Well, first of all, Karen was talking about the Teacher Resource Center and the website, and maybe, first of all, for people who are new to webinars, I did get this is my first webinar. We're glad you're here. And if you are new to the district and the school district site, to get to the Teacher Resource Center, it's under staff. And if you'll go down here, you'll see Teacher Resource Center. And you'll see here on the left-hand side, this is where Karen puts a lot of things. And again, where we put our registration page. And also, each week we put the recording of the webinar up here. For example, if we just go here real quickly, you'll see that last week, Mr. Laurie was with us. And this is, my goodness, for some reason, I have, I know what, I forgot. There is a September webinar. Each month we put up it, and this is where Mr. Laurie was with us. You might want to join us and view that again if you are for the first time, if you haven't viewed it. But anyhow, this is where a lot of good information is that you might want to check out if you have questions that pop up. And she does have a lot of information here. We also, she had mentioned about personal learning and learning networks. What we have, just real quickly, what we've put here to help out, we know that you're very busy people, but we are also, concerned that, we want you to be able to add to your knowledge, to contribute, to keep going, learning new things. And quite often on the internet, there's so much, and you can't go everywhere and see everything. So Roger and I have built a site here called Building Personal Learning Networks. And if you'll just take a few minutes and go there, you can see what it really is. It's not something that you have to collaborate with a lot of other people. You can actually work on it yourself. And down below, you can find out how to get started. We're going to be talking a great deal this year about Office 365. Here's a document that you can download that has a number of sites and blogs that you might find useful for finding resources for your classroom. And they're not all technical resources. We don't just deal with technology. In fact, this particular, we call them flipboards. If you click here, you will end up at a place that has, I think there are over 900 very short articles, useful little articles that you might want to take a look at. And they're really great. Some great things, some things that you can find, build up your knowledge and get some good hints for your classroom and resources. Down here, we also have another flipboard that deals with technology in the classroom and how you can go about enhancing your use of technology in the classroom. So again, this is on the Teacher Resource Center webpage, okay? There is also, while you're doing your personal learning networks, Roger and the rest of the temps have created underneath the Teacher Resource Center, you'll find another site called the Technology Resources for Teachers. And if you go there, you'll find a number of articles and resources, things like that, that you might find useful. Many of these are a little bit more technology oriented, except for the one right here. This is the one that we kind of emailed everybody during August and early September, and it's going to be going away soon. The back to school 2019 and 2020, it hardly seems possible that you've been in school for, 3 weeks already. But we may take some of the articles that are in there that are appropriate for year-round use and incorporate them into the other PLO sites, the web flipboard that we have on the Teacher Resource Center page. But we'll be taking that down pretty soon. But again, don't hesitate. When you have a few minutes, take a look at some of these sites. You'll find out that there are a lot of great things. Lastly, Raj, as a preview, it's kind of something that seems to have gotten lost in the last few years, but we still have it, and it's a useful resource. Many years ago, I don't even remember how many years ago did this thing start, Raj? Did we start working with this? And it's called a place called New York Learns, and this is a site that the board has provided for you that has all sorts of resource, and it's also a site where we house the curriculum guides. And rather than take a whole lot of time now, because we don't have time, maybe next week or then sometime when we have some time, I'd like to take a close look at that. But the one thing that I did want to mention is this. If you don't have a login to a place called New York Learns, recommend that let me or let Roger know, and we can get you a login, because when you have a login, you are given a number of different tools. Some of them we won't be using now, but the curriculum is the Niagara Falls City School District curriculum that you might want to use, and you can build curriculum maps and things like that using it, and we'll take a look at that next week or the first week when we don't have a guest speaker, okay? But again, this is a great place. If you've never been there, take a look at it. If you don't have a login, let us know. If you had a login and you said, oh my goodness, that's been a few years and I don't know what my password is, sure, give us drop us an email and we'll be sure to get you all straightened out. And rather than go over all of these resources and things that are up here right now, I think, Raj, why don't I swap it over to you, and then if we have any time at the end, we'll take a quick look at some of that, okay?
Okay, we'll see what we can get through here.
Okay, and sharing. Okay, I'm going to change the presenter to Mr. Carroll. Yes.
Okay, I'm just going to quickly bring up
Okay.
my PowerPoint. Right.
Oh, okay.
Show something else. We may get to it. We talked about a couple of things tonight. We talked about personal learning networks. I want to get kind of technical. I don't see how. It's not going to be really technical. It's not going to be a how-to so much as a what it is kind of thing.
Yeah.
Gene mentioned a couple of options on the technology resources for teachers, the TRC, et cetera. And he used the term, mentioned we have something called Flipboards. Flipboard is, if you're not familiar with the term or have never encountered it or don't have one, it's, I'll put it, if you can see the quotes, they're out there. It's sort of a social bookmarking tool. It's a online Flipboard. Is a resource, a source of collating information, collecting information, or in the new term, curating information regarding, in our case, our profession of teaching. And it is a collection. It's evolved over a couple of years, and what it made itself, it was very handy. A nice visual presentation on your computer screen for whatever the site happens to be. We know we have in our browsers, you can create bookmarks or shortcuts. This kind of the generic term in bookmarking, favorite sites and so on. Microsoft calls them favorites, and it's just a list of sites that you want to be able to keep within your reach for quick access. So the new term, we mentioned it briefly in the spring, the fifth C, 21st century skill is curation rather. Creation relating to creative problem solving, working collaboratively with others, people, students in particular, working with one another, learning how to communicate, to create and solve problems and so on. And one of the newer tools, and we've evolved through and still use to some extent on the district website, those Flipboards, but there is you may have seen it if you do anything on Twitter, another, again, social media used for extending and compiling resources and information related to the profession of teaching. A new and very powerful tool is something called Wakelet. In tonight's handouts, if you look at your dashboard, there are some handouts tonight. One of them was, I think maybe they even both have been here in previous webinars. They relate to both of these tools. There's an educator's guide to Flipgrid, which I'm going to talk about very briefly in a moment, and a Wakelet ebook, which is how to use Wakelet. And they are both related to teaching and how you can manage your resources going beyond the bookmarks and the favorites folders that you use for your browsers. This is another website, another way to manage those tools. And they've, as I've mentioned, they have started to really find some use in the classroom by teachers. These are just images I snipped off the websites. I'm going to go to both of these sites in a moment. There is if you download the Educator's Guide, it's the same one you'll get if you download the handout in tonight's webinar. And you can download those. They're fairly large PDFs, but you can, again, download them. You don't have to print them or anything unless you really want to, but save them into your OneDrive or whatever you're using, and come back and take a closer look at the use of how Wakelet is used by teachers. And we're going to do that in upcoming webinars. I want to focus kind of exclusively on that. The other very popular and evolving tool, and it's related to more so using Microsoft Office 365, and in particular, the feature called Teams in Office 365 is called Flipgrid. It was a standalone entity of its own just about a year ago, and then Microsoft started getting questions and started taking a close look at Flipgrid as to, okay, well, this has got some really nice features that are kind of the essence of using Microsoft Office Teams. How can we incorporate the best of both? And Flipgrid is evolved currently to that state. It had used some of the very powerful tools within it that Microsoft has started using. And one of them is called, let's see if I can go on to the next screen here. This is, again, a little bit about Wakelet. And I want to go back. I'm going to do this in kind of a reverse order if I can. I want to go back to my PowerPoint. And let's go back here and go into Flipgrid. And notice straight away it's aimed at educators, etc. It is a very simple tool. We demonstrated it about a year ago in a very informal fashion. It's a way of students within your classroom sharing and responding and posting comments to. It's kind of like almost a visual blog, if you will, to a topic of study in the classroom. It's a way of students collaborating with one another. It's a way of giving every student a voice. And if we log into Flipgrid, again, in a future webinar, we're going to look at this and demonstrate it for you and maybe get some of you actively participating within that webinar. The educator login is very simple. You can simply recreate and use your Office 365 login for Flipgrid, but there are a host of resources related to the use of Flipgrid, and it's been evolving almost monthly with ideas and features and very simple, easy to use tools within your classroom. It's possible to collaborate with classes in your building, across the district, and so on. But the most powerful use of it is in your own classroom. And there are a number of ideas. Karen is a second language teacher. Flipgrid is, when you see it in use, it's visual. It would be a perfect vehicle for second language study and so on. But this is under the Resources tab. One screen to the home page. And when you go there, didn't quite get there. Here we are. Go ahead, get just flipgrid.com, but it is a part of something that's kind of neatly integrated within your Office 365 suite of tools, which Jean mentioned. We're going to be doing some focused, in-depth webinars on those resources in coming months to just take it and show you again its possibilities and some how-tos, and we've got some people who will demonstrate how they're using it in their classroom across grade levels, across subject areas, and so on. And it can be really a transforming experience for you and your teaching, as well as your students and their learning as well. So I'd like you to take a look at both those handouts, again, that are provided in tonight's handout section over on your dashboard as well. I want to go back, show an additional feature of Wakelet. This, again, it's got the educator's guide. It will again, take you through it. It's a detailed guide, several pages long, how to get started, examples of how to use it, and so on. Another very neat feature, and I'm sure many of you who use have a smartphone for your personal use, you can do, actually you can do both of these, but you can do use Wakelet on your phone as you come across information, as you're Googling and looking for information, looking up resources and references and so on for your subject area. You can curate them, you can make copies of them, and you can create bookmarks and favorite links to them through an app on your phone, which is really kind of neat. We have just a couple of minutes here, Gene. I want to see if this tool is working right now. Here's one of our favorite tools. I'm going to mirror my phone, and hopefully it's going to work. It looks like it is. And I'm going to go to my Wakelet app. And this is what it looks like when you create a site. Now, notice up in my browser, one of my extensions is a Wakelet extension. And here I have where I have collected a number of resources going back, since early spring when I discovered this. And then I created one for the summer. I called it Summer PD. And these are some of the things that Gene has put into the Flipboard that back to school 2019, as well as some things that I've come across that I think are worth sharing, and I curate them. Now, you can do this unique to your subject area, unique to your grade level. If you're an elementary teacher, create folders and things for all of these different resources that you collect. And I'm going to show you again in more detail in a couple of weeks when we talk about all of these resources. And I've been collecting these for a number of years, going back when I first discovered Wakelet, but much more recently in the summer months as we were preparing for what we're going to do this year. So this is called Wakelet. It is free, another key resource, but it's endearing itself to the use of the classroom. In fact, you can use Flipgrid and you can use your team, and you can embed one of these and both of these resources within the other. So it makes it a pretty versatile tool. So I'm going to stop the mirroring, and Gene, I want to send it back to you. Just say in the coming months, once we have gone through a round of a number of our important guest panelists to start the school year, looking again, in particular, some of these, I think, really exciting new tools for use in the classroom. But I encourage you to pursue them on your own, take a look at them, and help us share them out when they appear on a topic list for a Sunday night webinar.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're just about to the end anyhow. So, Raj, rather than getting it back, I just looked at that picture, and one thing I noticed about those kids that are all smiling, they all have perfect teeth.
Well, this one's work. This one not yet, because
well,
she's got her braces on. But yeah, of course they do.
I don't know why that came up, but I looked at it. They're great kids, and that really would invite you to join us those nights. When we're going to be talking about Flipgrid and Wakelet and the other things. There are some really good tools that you can use to help build, collect your resources, build resources, learn, and things that you can use in your classroom. We have to keep moving ahead, because if we don't, we're moving backwards. And with that, Raj, I see it as 8:59, so I think that I'm going to remind you that in about an hour, you will receive a thank you for attending the webinar email, and inside there is a short survey. And if you have any questions, concerns, anything that you'd like to ask about, please do. Whether it's about things that we've mentioned or Karen has mentioned, and we'll get back to you. Tentatively scheduled for next week, Rick Corella is tentatively scheduled for joining us to join us, and that also will be a very interesting webinar. So we keep an eye out for an email this week about that, and we'll let you know. And with that, Raj, and if you have nothing else, we'll tell everybody good night. Have a great week, and hope to see you next week.
Yes, yes. Have a great week. Enjoy, I guess, a beautiful week of weather. And we'll see you again, I hope, after a thrilling Bills victory again next Sunday.
Yep. And again, thank you, Karen. Glad you were with us. Good night, everybody.
Good night, all.